We're back for part two. Now we're going to be talking about the Essentials Kit. So, what comes in the Essentials Kit box?
A lot.
A lot. So
You heard it all falling around in
so
there.
it's heavy. So for $25, which you can still find this as of time of recording, you can still find this at a lot of stores.
I see it at Target all the time.
Yeah, I was in Target just the other day. You get and it was still there. So you get a 64-page rule book that has that gives you everything from levels 1 to 6,
Which is pretty big.
which is pretty big. You get an introductory adventure, which it's more of a sandbox kind of campaign. Like it's an area, but it's still the same area, the same general area as the Lost Mine of Phandelver adventure.
Right.
So we'll talk about that again. You get a double-sided poster map of the region. So one side is the main area. The other side is the town, Phandalin.
One's more of like the Sword Coast area.
You get a Dungeon Master screen.
What?
You get a Dungeon Master screen.
What?
Which is unbelievable
Yeah.
in the starter box. You get blank character sheets, which is unusual.
Right.
You get 11 dice.
Oh,
You
they
get,
listen to me.
Yeah, you get 2 d20s. You get 4 d6s. It's amazing.
And percentiles.
Yeah, and
Ugh.
percentiles, and you get 81 cards. So these cards, which they come in sheets, but you pop them out of the sheets and put them in a little tuck box that comes in the box. It's got magic cards. It has your sidekick cards. It has quest materials on there. In terms of what comes in the box, it's loaded for $25. It's kind of mind blowing. When I first picked it up, I got it day one at Target when it came out. I was like, wait a minute, that's $25. Kind of blew my mind. It's a lot.
Yeah.
So
I mean, this thing is massive. I was just double checking to make sure we got everything.
Yeah,
There's so much in this box. And then talking about what's in the box, we're talking about components. I'm going to kind of split this one up a little bit and talk about a couple of different things. One, dice. 100% a win on this box.
Yeah.
4d6s, 2d20s, percentile dice, all your regular polyhedrals you'll need for a game. That is what I think needs to come in starter boxes that use the d20 systems. I mean, I just think if you're going to play, especially because you have to build your own characters, which we'll get to in this, you're going to want 3 or 4d6 to roll if you want to roll stats, and change things up. I'm going to talk about the cards. I like the cards. I don't like what they're made of.
Yeah.
The rip paper is not
The rip
as
paper.
nice.
That's one of the downsides. You can trim them. I don't like their size because
They're not standards.
Yeah, they're
cards.
not standard cards. They're not standard size. I wish that we had gotten standard size cards, but I'm just gonna let that go.
It's a problem technically, but it's not like a huge thing because it does come with the tuck box, so you can keep everything.
The tuck box works great.
The adventure is really great in here. Again, that high quality that we've seen before, that glossy paper. The Dungeon Master screen is really nice.
Yeah.
It is intriguing because it is paper. It's not as high quality as like the regular $15 one that they have, which we'll talk about a little bit later when we talk about getting into the game. But I do like that there's a Dungeon Master screen because I think that is something you don't see as much in a lot of starters, and it's a really good thing as a new DM.
Yeah. At least, I mean, having quick reference to things like conditions, difficulty class numbers, different kinds of
They have the damage types.
Yeah, having damage types, those kinds of things. Having that DM screen, it is really nice. I've got the full size DM
as
screen, and honestly, I kind of like that one because it's a little smaller. I don't like big DM screens. I like little ones. If I'm going to use them at all, they need to be small.
then that's true. And I think, we talk about value outside the box. That has value. It
Yeah.
is very usable. The dice set is,
Yeah,
again,
that and
dice
the
are
dice.
nice. And then the cards are actually really useful for regular games because if you
Mm-hmm.
do run with some of those magic items, or you run with the sidekicks, kind of,
Sidekicks.
which I think we'll talk about a little bit when we talk about the adventure and like running it, is a interesting thing they put in here for low player counts comparatively.
I did something really interesting with the sidekicks. I've had my daughter, who is currently 8 years old. She wanted to play, but she didn't really want to make a character. She was just flipping through the cards, and she's like, "I want to be this person."
Well, that's
Just like
awesome.
hop right in. So
I do
she got
like
to
that.
play using a sidekick card, and it worked perfectly. So you could use those as player character sheets. So how easy is it to get into the game?
I think this one's interesting. As a player, not as much. Because, and I will say this is my biggest weakness of 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, building characters takes a long time.
Yeah.
It is not easy. It is not very quick. You can kind of shortcut it a little bit. I think the way you build characters is actually a little bit weird. Like, I never build race, class, background. I actually go race, background, class.
Yeah.
Kind of to like, because you get things that, it's very interesting how they've done this. I personally have never seen a starter set not come with pre-gen characters.
Right.
And I like that you can play a lot of different options in here. I mean, because they do your normal 4, and then they put in the Bard, which is not
very
what I
strange. Yeah.
expect for you to put in there for a character class, and I like it
Yeah.
personally.
Now, so going through the history of D&D, I'm going to try to not do this every single time. This is a callback to the old like basic and expert sets,
Yeah.
which did allow you to create your own character. So as far as starter sets go, we do have precedent for that in earlier editions, and not having pre-gens. However, modern basic
Right.
sets don't do that kind of thing. Not usually. They're going to give you pre-generated characters.
Absolutely.
So you're absolutely right. It's a little strange.
Because you're going to spend time doing that. You know what I
Right.
mean? You're not going to jump in and be like, it can take a while, character creation. And that's a big chunk of your first time playing if your characters aren't made pre-hand. Which I think is a little bit interesting to put in a starter set, more
Yeah.
like starter one. But it is cool that they give you the opportunity to kind of build how you want to play, which I think is cool that it's a starter box, but you're really getting to play what you want to play in it,
Yeah.
not just a pre-gen that someone hands you.
As far as the game master content, I mean it's loaded.
They this thing is amazing. I mean, you have we talked about, right, you've got the dungeon master screen, so you don't have a rule book open at all times for
Right.
you have that. It's easy for you to kind of look at.
And the monsters.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you've got that rule book that has so many monsters in it. To be really honest, if you wanted to run a streamlined game that's more like old school role playing kind of version, so if you're into the OSR style of game, you could take just the monsters that are included in that rule book and play those for a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, so as far as the value for the game master,
Yeah.
it's a lot.
I will say though, one of the cons, if you would call it a con of this, is the way that they hold out adventures for you. So because
Yes.
of that, so the way it works is basically you have 3 starter missions that you have to complete 2 of to get to the other missions that you have to complete another set of, and every time you level up until you do to the final, basically like final battle. I do like that, but it does require a game master to read multiple sections beforehand.
Yes, and be prepared.
Yes, and I think that is a little bit hard on a new game master, maybe. It is really nice though, because you can definitely go in and say, hey, I want to like control how my party moves through the game a little bit. and say, I'm only going to give 2 missions. You have to do those. So you can prepare only 2, but you're still having to prepare 2 or 3 different like missions that aren't connected necessarily.
Now, one thing that you could do if you wanted to run this set is to start with a 0 night session, so like an introductory night session, so people create their characters, and then what you do is you start them out, and then you say, hey, these are the options that I'm going to give you,
Right.
and pick one of these, and that's what we're going to run next week. And so
like that.
You end with them picking where they're going to go next, so it saves you a little time.
It does. And I think that's just, again, it just means you need to pre-plan. Right. And I think you can't just read this before you come to, your guys are there in an hour. It's a little bit more involved than I think a lot of other DM books are.
Mm-hmm. So the time it takes to play the box, is it possible to do in one game night?
Absolutely not. No. I don't think so. I actually think
either.
If you did this in one whole day, like an all-day play, I'd be impressed, because I think I'd argue, and one of the things that I'm going to always kind of skip ahead for, like how many sessions you need to complete it, that's actually up to you as a DM.
Right.
Because there's 3 options for starter missions. Mm-hmm. You can do all 3. And then you have 6 secondaries. So you can make this adventure as long as you want it to. I still think that it takes maybe 3 or 4 sessions to do it all. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, I mean, this is versatile, which I think makes this amazing.
Yeah, it definitely is a unique starter. Okay, the overall adventure. So, is it a good adventure to get into the system?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's, one thing I like about it is it's bite-sized.
Yeah.
So everything is
all the dungeons are small.
Right. So everything you do for a quest is very bite-sized. There is an overarching story. Mm-hmm. However, part of me feels like that storyline is there just to hold a bunch of things together.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily like required. But it is very cool that you have an adventure that it's good to get you into the system, I think. I think it does a good job of kind of giving you bite-sized map areas. Mm-hmm. I would argue that the adventure maybe isn't as clean of like a build on how you learn as Phandelver is.
Right.
But it does give you at least a lot of bite-sized options, so your players aren't stuck in one area for too long.
Yeah. So does it have a solid storyline? I mean,
yeah.
I mean, here's my opinion. On its own, I think it's good. But where this one really shines is if you take the Essentials kit and pair it with Phandelver.
I would say, yeah.
If you ran them together as a big sandbox where you have the main thread of the story going all the way through, from starting with the goblins on Tribord Trail, or I think that's what it was, and then and then all the way to Wave Echo Cave, and you do all that stuff, and then you have these little things in there where they can pick up items and maybe get a level or something. To me, if you took those two together, you have the best story ever. You have a sandbox with a full narrative.
Yeah, I agree. I think this does a good job of it being good as like a pop out with other games sort of thing.
Yeah.
For me, the storyline is there's a dragon and there's things you're doing to try to stop him, but they're so bite-sized that they don't feel as epic as, say, like the Dragon Queen book that came out originally, where there's a lot of like really big events happening. It is very good. I think, it's a con that there's not a big story, but the con is that in the end, it doesn't really need a story. Right. It's more of a sandbox and how you can let this be played with so many options. In terms of this box being a complete game, one of the things it will say is, can you use it to play the game indefinitely? No, but I'm going to say that this box is so good because if you're adventuring party, if you're playing other adventures, you can slot this in wherever you want. If you're like,
Sure.
I want a level 3 little tiny thing
Oh
for us to
yeah.
do, like they go into town. The town, oh, I need a quest that's good for the town to like get them a
Yeah.
level or two before they go fight a bigger thing in the quest. Pop this bad boy in, you
Yeah.
know? And I think it does a really good job of making sure that you can play this adventure a bunch. I do think once you run through every single quest option, you probably don't want to run through this adventure again.
Hmm.
Now, if you choose to do only 2 starter missions and like 2 or 3 of the advanced, you can run this multiple times with people. But I do
Hmm.
think it almost shines as, oh, I've played it once and maybe I don't play the adventure so much again as a set,
Yeah.
but Dart put them in with other ones.
Yeah, you can sprinkle some of the little bits in other places.
Right.
So, what would you need to keep playing the game? Um, just like the last one, Player's Handbook. I mean, if you had the Player's Handbook, honestly, I think if you had the Player's Handbook with the monsters that you have in here, you all automatically just increased how much time you have playing the game.
Right.
Because it has so many monsters in there that you could just keep playing for a little while.
That's one of the big values I think of this book. You know, we'll always say get your big 3,
Yeah.
you know, for anyone.
Absolutely.
But this one has so much in it that it kind of lends itself to where you can really keep playing with the stuff in there and kind of
Sure.
tinker with it, make it your own. Where I think a lot of starter boxes don't have that as an option. This really does. Again, if you want to do more adventures and stuff, you want to start at level 1. Again, there's multiple options for you to choose. You can again pick up one of the multiple ones like Candlekeep that have a bunch of more one shots for every level if you wanted to start at a higher level. But I think this box set is actually really good about letting you keep playing with what's in it.
So, who is this box set for? Who do you think?
I think this box set is interesting because I almost want to say that brand new players to the game may not want this box for one reason only. I don't think this is new DM friendly as the other ones.
Yeah, it's true.
But I still think this box has immense value for new players because you get a ton of dice, dungeon master screen, all this stuff. So I think if you're a new player, you're going to get so much out of this box for your group that's playing that you actually don't have to buy too much, expand on it.
Yeah.
And for seasoned players, the deck of cards is really nice. The dice are really nice. That Dungeon Master screen is really nice.
Yeah.
Like, this actually, I think, holds a lot of value for a DM
For
who,
$5 more
Yeah.
than the Lost Mine
Right.
of Phandelver adventure.
who's looking for something to kind of expand where, like, you know, you look at just even the Dungeon Master's screen, the regular one, that's a, you know, MSRP $15 thing.
Yeah.
For $10 extra, you get that and a bunch of other stuff. Now, it's not the same again, but it offers so much.
Yeah.
This has so much value to me for whoever picks it up. And I think that's really important to kind of understand of like, this is not for just new players. This is for also seasoned players who want some more one-shot little things that they can put in there, little add-ons to their adventure. Like it has so much value, which is insane for something of this quality for this price.
Yeah.
And then would you keep playing based on this box?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think especially having the dice, you know, just having those dice, they're clear, like you can clearly read them. You know, like having the components that you have. I think if this is how I had started out, I think it would give me a lot of the feeling of I will compare it. So for some of you older players, I compare it to something like the Keep on the Borderlands adventure,
Okay.
which is a sandbox, but it all takes place in this one little area. There's these hills that have cave entrances, and
Right.
you can go into all these different cave entrances. To me, it reminds me a lot of that old adventure philosophy and the way that they present the materials in the rule book.
Right. it's a box for everyone.
Yeah.
And I think that's huge. Whereas some of the starter set stuff, if you're a more experienced DM or experienced players, you're not looking to get into it, they don't always hold value. This really holds itself up high for as no matter where you're at in your role playing game kind of life, it has value.
Yeah.
And for me as well, I would keep playing. I definitely think it offers me. I think I would like a little more structure personally in the like storyline, but I think that this makes me yearn for more and makes me. It almost has a video game feel to it.
Oh yeah, like very World of Warcraft. Kind of like you start out here. Oh, what's over there? Oh, what's over there?
Which I think was smart in a way to kind of get some people in. But yeah, overall, fantastic value, definitely great. And for $25, I mean, you can't beat what comes in the box.
You can't. All right, we'll see you in part 3.
Part 3.